People of the Maho constituency, calling everyone from the Maho constituency. The United Progressive Party is inviting you to a public meeting at the Maho Market on Thursday, June 25th at 7 p.m. Come here from constituency candidate Loftus Lofty Turam, a man of principle, and party leader Joshua Francis, and other speakers. Come and hear firsthand how our plans include you. United Progressive Party, together for progress.
Win an unforgettable experience during the FIFA World Cup games and win with Coca-Cola. Here's how you can enter. Uncap a 591 ml Coke Original Taste or Coke Zero Sugar with the football label. Find the unit code under the cap. Send that code via WhatsApp to 265-5792 or scan the QR code in stores. It's that easy. One entry can make you win one of 5 flat screen smart TVs during the FIFA World Cup game or win FIFA merchandise instantly with over 1,500 prizes to be won. For more details, follow Josephine Gabriel Facebook page. Score with Coca-Cola and win! Bryce and Company Limited. We manufacture high-quality roofing sheets, 24 gauge in different colors, also to customer specifications. That's right, whatever length you want. Aluminum seamless guttering. We also sell BRC mesh, steel rods in all sizes, breach caps, fencing wire and fencing poles. Free estimates for guttering, galvanized sheets, and fencing wire. Quality products at the lowest prices island-wide. Bryce and Company Limited, located at Cateville Industrial Site, Shed 1A, just before the Old Mill Cultural Center. Call us today at 617-2468 or 615-0178. Bryce and Company Limited, built for living, built for life.
We are ready.
We are ready.
We are ready.
We are ready.
We're ready.
We're ready.
We are ready.
We are ready.
We are ready.
We are ready.
We're ready.
We are ready.
Digicel, we are ready. The season of big matches and big moments. Watch the World Cup live on Digital Plus TV. The front row seat to every match, every moment. Digital Plus TV, bringing you closer to the game you love.
Ooh, oh, KFC. Ooh, oh, KFC. Looking for some place to go. Red variety meals for soul. KFC. Grab your family and your friends. Join in the experience. KFC. It's the place to be. Made for you and me. KFC. KFC. It's finger licking good.
I wanna drink Dominica best rum with you. I wanna drink, baby, Dominica best rum with you. Get the body, drink it every day. Give me energy, alright, pepper way. Get the body, drink it every day. Give me energy. Time today, we went. Okay, my body, my knee, who's ready, full energy. My body, my knee, who's ready, full energy. Okay, boom. Distributed by Belfast Estate Limited. Drink it, but don't abuse it. Okay, boom.
We will see this program, Mr. Pongvin, and I'm Miss Nin.
Let me first of all define the project. I mean, many people know, but I want to emphasize the components of the project because it's relevant to the update as well as the second part of this discussion. So the geothermal project really is a combination of major efforts. The first one is the construction of a 10 megawatt power plant in Loda. That power plant is finished. It has been online for several months, and it is going through what we call the commissioning process. We'll talk more about that in a while. So that's one part of the geothermal project. The other part is construction of an electricity transmission network to take the power from this power plant to bring it to Fonkole, from where Domlec will distribute it to consumers. And if I can break down this transmission network a little further, there are several parts to it. There are lines, which in this current state where we're right now, one of those lines is completed, it's underground all the way from Loda to Fonkole. And there are substations, which from the outside, they just look like buildings, but inside there's a lot of electrical equipment, which moves the power to the appropriate voltages. Those substations, one of them is in operation right now, that's at Fonkole, and the others are under construction, and they will be completed by November this year. So in a nutshell, that's where we are on the geothermal project.
As Fred mentioned, the transmission project is in a partial stage of completion, and we have connectivity between. And one other thing to add as well, at Loda, where we have the geothermal plant, we also have the geothermal substation. So that is one other addition to it. Prior to the start of the transmission project, one of the other preparatory items that were added is a battery energy storage system. And that is critical in understanding where we are and some of the challenges that we are experiencing. That system was commissioned, or partially commissioned last year, and basically commissioned, the commissioning was completed during this last quarter that we're wrapping up here now. So that was another major element or component to the overall project in terms of, seeing it to fruition and success.
All right. Can you
in terms of this project is a major project, and both all aspects of it. It's a major international project, and we could have a day-long session on what it took to get us to this point in terms of challenges. But right now, we are at the point where we think that the challenges of the project are pretty much overcome, which is why we are approaching commissioning of this project. There are several buckets of challenges, if I can put it that way. After everything gets to Dominica, which is in itself quite an experience, you have the installation works. You've got to test those works. I mean, I mentioned substations, for example. There are thousands of connections to be made in the substations, literally, and then every one has to be checked. So the challenges are a combination of ensuring quality of the work and dealing with just normal technical issues when you do something so complex. In an ideal world, we would only be doing one of those projects at a time. We'd either be building a transmission network or building a power plant. In this case, because of circumstances and the needs of the country, we are doing both at exactly the same time. And each one has to work independently, but more importantly, they have to work together. So that it really is the genesis of some of the challenges overall that people are seeing right now.
And
Well, as you would appreciate, it's a major transition, and the challenges that we have with the equipment and ensuring that everything integrates well, you would appreciate that it's a major change for the human resource as well. Moving from what was predominantly a diesel-based system to now having, another player, another party in the system, and introducing new equipment to get to this point. So it's a major transition for us at Domlec, the technical staff, and even non-technical items, because we're dealing with someone selling power to us. So that brings in, something new to us. So throughout, there's that challenge that, we have to adapt to. In terms of training, a lot of the training so far has been mostly technical based, given the nature of the project. As we speak, we have guys that are out at a factory witnessing testing of additional equipment that is needed for the transmission system for its completion. So there's an ongoing process for training, but as we always say, it's not just saying, okay, I've achieved 100% of training and I've reached a particular point. It's something that has to be ongoing, and much more persons get involved in it. So it's a continuous process, but training is ongoing.
all right. Well, that's certainly great, especially for the good folks at Domlec, who will, of course, be able to.
Okay, so I think commissioning is, and thanks for that question. It's a really important question, because if we get the answer to that right, I think people will understand what's really going on here. Commissioning is a process of taking this new thing, be it the power station, be it the transmission line, be it the substation, and bringing it into service, regular service as intended. There are two parts to this. The first part is offline. You as someone in the public, you don't see this. So you build the power station and you spend literally months going over everything and checking it. Yeah. And then you get to the part where you start connecting it live. And the objective of both of those is to find what is wrong. So if anything is wrong, and there's always something wrong, what we are going through in Dominica now is not unusual. There's always something wrong. The point is to find it before you sign off and say, this is done, this is accepted from the contractor. That's commissioning. And as I said, in our case, we're not just doing it for one product, we're doing it for three.
Oh, three.
Yeah, the lines, the transmission lines, but the substations as well, which are part of it. Yeah, because the lines are just the cables.
Yeah.
But the substations are built in with a lot of equipment in it. So, yeah, that's what commission is about. Finding the bugs in this, fixing them, so that we can sign up and say accepted, good to go.
All right. And more to your point, I remember maybe
As part of the commissioning and testing that Fred mentioned deals with, you start off with everything off. As he mentioned, the public don't get to see that part of it. So you start off with the equipment off. You have something that is not energized. It's just there. You test, you check the sequence of operations and so. Now, a major part of this project is we are transitioning again from what used to be 75% diesel to now having something that takes up over 50% of our operation. So another part of it is tuning, right? And I think even if you're not technical, everyone understands, when you say you need to tune or tweak or, make these changes. And that cannot happen in a dead environment.
Yeah,
it has to be
live.
online. You have to actually, get the operation of the system, to put it very simply, you need to understand how the system behaves, right? And when you have that amount of capacity being online and, from one source, picking up that much of the system, something goes wrong. We have the experience. We all know when something goes wrong, right? It's not something, we can brush aside and so, because we feel the impact of it results in sometimes partial outages and not everyone is aware. But most recently we suffered, some of those larger scale outages, and that's just the I guess, in nature of where we are and what we're trying to achieve.
If I can add one thing I forgot on the components, and it's a major one, is the battery system at Fonkole that Dwayne mentioned. Yes, it was brought online last year, but it was intended to work with the geothermal power plant. That only became available a few months ago. So that itself is also being commissioned.
Okay.
So
And yes,
I
and
can't forget
that's
That's
a
important.
3. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
Yes. So, I mean, even outside of this process that we're going through, and prior to this and in the future as well, something that, customers should always consider and probably install or implement is on your sensitive equipment to use surge suppressors, right? On the system, regardless of the state that we are in now, going through the commissioning phase, 2 years from now, 5 years, the system is still prone to events, right? While generally we have 2 types of outages that you can classify it as. We have planned outages where we plan maintenance, we give the customer advance notice, hey, we will be in this particular area undertaking maintenance. There will be an outage from X period to, Y. But apart from that, you can have unplanned outages, and those can be weather related, which we have no control over. Lightning can hit our overhead lines. We've seen just recently with some of the rain events, trees and so can fall on the line. While I'm on, the vegetation side of things, just one thing I would like to put out there in the public is whenever you have to deal with trees or any type of vegetation that is close to the power lines, please get in contact with Domlec and request the assistance, or at least get, Domlec's advice. Just recently, we had some persons cutting trees close to our power lines, and the trees came down on the lines, created outages. So you have these things that can happen, which in this case, if we were advised, we could have better assisted and provided some of that. But when it comes to things like third-party incidents involving the lines or poles or acts of God, we really cannot prevent those. And the one main thing you can do for your sensitive equipment is to install surge suppressors to just help protect that piece of equipment. Just like you would do for anything else that you have and you invested in, you want to have some level of protection on it, right?
Yeah, and
well, that is one of the major issues that we have been experiencing. As I mentioned, it's really related to the size of the geothermal plant that we're bringing on in regards to what existed before. Prior to the geothermal plant, our largest unit that we have connected to the system is rated at 2.8 megawatts. We may operate it up to 2 megawatts and so. But if you lost 2 megawatts, something else can always fill that gap. We had other units that were operating not to the maximum capacity, and that reserve, when you look at what is demanded from the system to the capacity that you have online, in technical terms, we refer to that as spinning reserve, that excess of energy or capacity that's available to the system. The cause of some of the recent outages were really due to you have a system that is online operating at 10 megawatts. To see the benefits of this, the whole idea of bringing in additional renewables is really to displace diesel. So in much of these cases, the Fonkole plant, the main diesel power plant, was offline, completely offline, in most of the cases that we experience island-wide outages. The hydro is running. The hydro, it's basically water. It doesn't use fuel. So that's a benefit to us and mainly to the customers in terms of what that cost that gets passed on. When we lose the geothermal plant, we lose 10 megawatts of capacity online. As we mentioned before, one of the measures that were put in place before was the 6 megawatt battery storage system, right? Now, if you do the simple math without getting too technical, you realize losing 10 megawatts versus having something at 6 megawatts that can back up, there's a 4 megawatt deficit, right? So that is why we mentioned that, it was done based on looking at simply we need spin reserve. We can potentially lose, one of the geothermal units. We will not back it up with diesel. We back it up with a battery system. And so we have that system that is rated at 6 to provide just some additional power there. But losing the entire plant, we have that deficit of 4 megawatts. And the idea is, yes, we are in the process of trying to get additional storage available to us. Now, that was one of the things that we learned. Most recently, another challenge that came up is not only do we need to respond to a loss of generation, but sometimes a loss of load and the technology that exists from the plant end or some of the renewables, both the hydro, the geothermal, is that you do not get that fast response that diesel offers, right? The battery energy storage system offers it, but we need to make some adjustments there as well. So, just to be transparent, it's something, that was not really something that we saw as a major issue before, but recently we've learned that, hey, we need to just adjust the philosophy in which we use that battery system. And of course, some of the limitations is you have one asset, but you need to do 5 or more things with it. So you have that limitation there as well. But additional storage in terms of preventing future outages, one of the things is we're looking at now is some, again, adjustments to the assets now, and for the future, procuring additional storage. But Fred, you may want to add to this as well.
Well, I think what you've said brings out a couple points that we should clarify. So all of the assets, physical assets we have now as part of this entire project, they're working. Everyone is working, which is really good news. So it really comes down to making the assets talk to each other in a way that they talk to each other under normal circumstances and they talk to each other under exceptional circumstances. That's really what it comes down to. So the battery that Dwayne spoke about at Pompole, it's not a typical battery for storing days of power. It's really meant for emergencies. So one of the things that is being done right now as a result of this whole commissioning process is to adjust the settings on that battery, adjust the settings on the geothermal plant, so that the types of events which occurred last week, if they occurred, the battery and the geothermal would speak to each other better. And the battery would actually be the one to say, I'll take this. I'll sort this out. And the geothermal will give it some time to clear the fault without tripping the entire island. We're talking seconds and milliseconds here. Very, very quickly, but that's the kind of adjustment that's going on now. So the confidence I think we can give the public is, as part of this process, we're addressing all of those coordination, communication, what they call system protection issues. And then we're good to
gentlemen, and fairly competent, and I'm sure of good integrity. But let us be honest about this. In any sort of evaluation as to how successful this transition and handover has been, I think it would be judged clearly as almost an unmitigated disaster. I mean, I may be exaggerating the point, but clearly no one would give an A grade or B grade, or I would say a C grade for the handover process. because almost all of these issues and technical difficulties are predictable and knowable. Now, clearly, there's an unknowable aspect to every technical project, but one can certainly realize that, hey, if we switch over completely and we do not integrate the diesel generation and the geothermal, then we're going to have issues where our maximum load request exceeds our generation capacity, and so forth. We have to be very careful in integrating both generating sources. We can calculate mathematically the current capacity of the transmission lines, the number of substations we have to build, and the number of substations that are probably going to be problematic. All of those things are things that in any advanced economy are well planned out, understood, and risk mitigation tactics put in place to prevent customer disruptions at this scale. So I am not trying to point fingers or blame the gentleman or whatever. I understand the technical and fiscal limitations that we have in Dominica, but let us not paint this as just that's the way it works for any sort of transmission of this nature. It is not. In any, as I said, in any major advanced economy, somebody would probably get dismissed over this, at how poorly the execution occurred and the risk mitigation took place. So I'm not calling to necessarily, call out the gentleman. I know they're working on the, as I said, restraining conditions, but let us at least be intellectually and professionally honest and say that this process has not gone well at all. And I hope that the lessons learned at this initial deployment are understood and risk mitigation factors put in place and the right technical evaluations be done and the right timelines. Again, let us not work to artificial timelines maybe set by others that are unreasonable, that the technical people themselves know is probably going to create a disastrous result in given the nature of the complexity of what they have to do. So that's all I want to say on that. I empathize, I understand the technical difficulties. I have understanding of those areas. But again, it is not just the way business is done. I think in Dominica, we set our expectations too low and we just accept that, hey, well, so it is, it's a hard thing to do. No, there are hard things to do that people do well, many places. And in Dominica, we have to step up our expectations as consumers and as those who meet those consumer demands, and we have to level up our game to best practice standards. Thank you very much.
First of all, I want to thank the caller for the frank feedback. And he's not wrong in many areas. There is no shortage of lessons learned on every part of this project. I mean, long before commissioning, it's been a difficult project. Circumstances within and without our control. Outside of our control. But I think the end product is going to be worth the pain. And the end product is not far away. So,
and I think it's good to...
I think you're exactly right. And once we're in stable state, the geothermal plants, which is one reason that Dominica is so blessed to have the resource, these plants operate at over 90% availability. As in, you turn this plant on and it stays on. Okay, so there will always be other things going on in the network, especially in Dominica with our terrain and distributed distribution system. But this is supposed to be extremely reliable. So that's why I tell the public the end result is going to be worth it.
Once we're done with it,
we're in the hurricane season, given that reminder, of course. Now, one of the major challenges that we face on the distribution system outside of generation and geothermal and so on is where our network runs and the areas that we have to supply and vegetation is a major challenge, and I don't think we can see it as something that we want to curse. As I've learned before, things grow very easy in Dominica. You throw it on the ground and it grows. But that presents a challenge to us as well. And one way in which the community can help us is, avoid planting trees and so beneath power lines, because that would mitigate the risk of vegetation getting into our lines altogether. But the other part of it is, if it does get in there, because probably, the lines came after or something like that to power the area, that if you have to trim them, engage Domlec, that we're part of it and we can give guidance, or we can actually do the trimming if it's below the lines where it may pose a threat to you and to the lines, that you consult with Domlec before engaging in, trying to cut or trim that vegetation all by yourself.
Yeah, because as you mentioned, we
To inform the public that in the Roseau Valley, you will see activity again in the manholes, as people call them, along the road. What you're witnessing is the closing process of the underground line. So we've had this line in place and operational since March. It's been stable. So now we are filling these holes with sand with cement, a special mixture. We're going to drop the covers, slightly glue the road surface, and we're going to asphalt everything over. So this is going to disappear. Okay, so this is an indication of the progress, the fact that we are now moving ahead to closing those out. So for the next 5 weeks, you'll be seeing that today they should be in Trafalgar, but the entire route is going. You will see some activity there. So sorry for the inconvenience, and thank you for the patience.
All right. Any final words, Mr.?
Yes. Just to again acknowledge the frustration of the customers. Outage is nothing simple. It affects not just the domestic side of things, but electricity is needed for the entire country to operate, and when you do not have electricity, a lot grinds to a halt, right? So we understand the nature of the service that we offer. It's an essential service, nothing to be taken lightly. We don't. But we really like to, just apologize to our customers, consumers, for the outages experience. But as Fred mentioned, this transition, we will bear the fruits of our labor pretty soon. Already we started seeing some of that on our bills, in that the impact that geothermal is having. Unfortunately, that may have been eroded by the recent outages. But one thing is, yes, we experience the outages. The other thing is the steps that we're taking to ensure that we can mitigate these future issues. But again, as we said, it's a major transition. It's not, biting off a piece. It's making a big bite, a big impact. And definitely we will see the benefit of, depending solely on indigenous or local energy and not having to import from outside of Dominica. And I think we just need to keep our focus on, keep our eyes on the prize, and we're working to really get through this. All right, so I thank everyone for the patience that has probably evaporated, gone clear, but we really appreciate your understanding as we work through getting this major project online.
Good afternoon, Dr. Fountain. Uh, that guy, Mr. Sinak, is very good at his job. You cannot hate the guy. The guy is up front, he's straightforward, and I guess he being that way, we see it as good diplomacy, favorable. But they made a statement there that I'm wondering about. You come along with your lines, your Domlec lines, and I have land below those lines. And all of a sudden you appear, you pass over my property with your line. And now you're telling me don't plant trees on the line. Are you going to pay me for my property or for the denial of the use of my property when you make a statement like that? I find that a little bit. I think they're not thinking of it legally. But if you were to put a legal mind to that, where you're depriving me or suggesting that I deprive myself for the good of the country of the use of my land by not planting certain trees. I may have planted those trees, they're 5 years old, and they're starting to bear. And all of a sudden, your power lines are over the top of them, and you'll come one day and cut them down because you claim that you have the authority to do it. I've seen it on my property where a mango tree is growing, and they do come and trim, and they come with some kind of an authority. You cannot say, don't trim my tree. And it doesn't make sense for you to say that because you're going to get electrocuted if your tree touches that line. So I'm saying, is there some form of compensation? But I've never been compensated when that occurred. And sometimes I hear that if you don't make a big fuss, you don't get compensated and go through a whole process. That's what I'm hearing. And, I've never bothered to make that big fuss. Anyway, I think he's doing a good job. Take care.
Yes. Dr. Franklin, good afternoon to you. And to your listeners at home and abroad. It's commendable that, the gentlemen were on the air trying to explain to the public what is going on, because these frequent outages has really affected production and productivity. And you see, when you do things and you give people wrong expectation, when you start and people are not receiving what you told them that you would do and how quickly you'll do it, it creates a problem. And I hope the manager of Domlek and the manager of the geothermal plant are not dragged into the partisanship, in the sense that you have to try it no matter what, just to show the politicians that here it is. We have had for the politician to show to the public that here it is, we have brought geothermal to the country without giving an opportunity to be tested and implemented properly, because, it affects a lot of things. I've been in rooms where people are at work and the light just go, and then they have to leave the offices over because they have no aircon, they have no computer, they have nothing and can't do anything for the day and have to go out from their office, and even sometimes the manager asks them to go home, and so on. So people have lost businesses as a result. And I remember when this geothermal was being spoken about, there was an excitement by the politician in government that we would have so much geothermal that we would have too much to supply our 70,000 people, and we would sell to Martinique and Guadeloupe and so forth. And you look at Guadeloupe and Martinique, we have so many people in those places compared to ours. And if we can't supply ourselves, then how we can sell to Guadeloupe and Martinique? And we have been on that geothermal thing for quite a while, and spent over $100 million on that. It's not 2 cents we spend there, over 100 million, US dollars we spent on that, and so forth. And I was doing some investigation, and I know that there was a plant built somewhere in Europe, and it took them about 5 years to have everything in place, testing everything, before they can really, supply the customers with geothermal, so that they had everything in place before they do that, so people don't lose their appliances and affect production, productivity, and so on. So in that sense, you have to do things properly, and you have to give people the information that is necessary, that people are not, have their hopes high. And when you start now, the things become so negative and so, unimportant to them, that they feel as if, well, what's the sense? What's the use? And so on. Because it's really affected people over the past days that we have had these outages taking place. So I'm glad they came and explained, and I hope things can be improved for the better. and people will see, less outages. If something happened, this by the also, nature, but it's okay. I don't have to put on an issue with that, but to just sit there, no announcement, no information, and that just go on you. It is not a good thing at all. And I hope their explanation is not just to come on the radio and give a bluff, but it's to make sure that things are better off going forward. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon to you, sir. I listened to that we played there, and I trying to get an understanding of what has been said. And it looked like the favor we may get where that geothermal is there and to really see the reality out of that, especially where your pocket is concerned. It looks like it's when they really get rid of diesel. But I also concerned about the cost per kilowatt. Check, because I think there is another area that can be very high on our account. So I don't know if you're an economist and you listen very well. I don't know where you can guide me in that line, but I've been wrestling with that system and trying to read as I hear those that know better talking. Because they're trying to tell us that we have to be careful of cutting trees. People have been cutting trees for a long time, and sometimes they cut a tree and they expect it to touch the line, but then it ends up falling on the line. But I'm not aware of cutting a tree now, and it's for the whole country. I don't know, I never really experienced that happen. And then, for all I know, Trafford got to Fokole, and I understood I think the other piece already piped by the waterfall where they're going up to Luda. So are they telling me that all the outages that we are experiencing, the street super cutting, that I would expect that to be happening. That's really that I expect them to have a goal in the area, choose have no part to play there. So you see, and then I wrestled with that thing that why there is a company controlling the geothermal and then they have to purchase power from them. I have difficulty understanding it, and I don't know if I get somebody only to really explain to me why there is a company. Because if the geothermal is the ambulance first, them guys are nothing. They have to buy water, they have to buy steam to offer to generate that power. I can like before you have to buy diesel to use the machine to generate power. I can understand that, but what is the reason for that company? Because if it's our own, I expect when that is commissioned, that then they could be fully in charge of that. So that money thing there could revert into discount for us. Electricity will be much cheaper and more things can happen in the country, especially if business people could expand on their business and encourage people to invest in the country so things can happen. But it looks like we will see that turning that very soon. So I don't know if you guys guide me based on your knowledge and where you see the market while listening. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, Dr. Fountain. How are you doing?
Thank you.
Good. Hey, I had a couple questions. I couldn't listen in entirety to the presentation from the gentleman from Domlek, but there are some questions I would really like you guys to think about and to ask. So I've been one of them. You probably know the voice by now. Your listeners know the voice. I've been one of them who've been asking for more information on the geothermal power plant that's being commissioned in Dominica right now. And one of the things that had been an issue is there had been more political expediency to get the power plant done for a political claim to say we're the first, without having the financial forecast, without showing us what is called the levelized cost of electricity, which is a calculation used to compare the different sources of power generation and what is the unit price of electricity. I have not seen that, so that we can determine as an informed public as to whether geothermal is going to cost us less or not, and how much money or the government is going to put in there, subsidies the government is going to put in there to drop the price down. For your listeners, if they want to get additional information, DOMLEC has a website, and DOMLEC has their yearly reports, and I would advise people to go out there, print those reports, and read them, because in there you will find a lot of information that you can scan through and make sense of what is happening. And from just a little review of the last 2025 report, the chairman of DOMLEC board is none other than the lady who was the resiliency boss a few years ago, political operative. But suffice to say, one of the things that I have not heard in all the description is the demand. So why I'm bringing that up, traditionally, geothermal power plants are used to provide what they call baseload supply. And baseload is basically the lowest amount of consumption that happens. It doesn't matter whether night, whatever the case may be, when you have the lowest power consumption. Now, if you have a geothermal power plant that is producing way more electricity than your baseload, you're going to have some issues unless you have the ability to cycle or lower the power output or increase the power output, which is not very easy in geothermal power plants. That in itself can result in serious over energized power lines and cause disruptions in your power supply. And one way that you can curtail that is by having battery storage. So I have a suspicion that there is an issue with the amount of power that's being supplied by the geothermal power plant that is not accounting for the baseload, which is the minimum consumption at a particular time. And what
what they indicated is that they have now calibrated the battery to take on some of that. In other words, when we have the outages, the battery is not fully calibrated to take on the slack, and that's why we have the outage. But now the batteries are there installed. What is that now it's where we're able to say, wait, I have this, so as soon as there is any problem with the tape or whatever, then this battery will then kick in on a very short-term basis to slow out until they're able to redistribute from the various sources. So that the use of the battery now will help clear some of those problems. Yeah.
So when the battery is fully charged and there is still increase in production, what are they going to do? They're going to shut down the geothermal plant and use the battery, or what are they going to do, or add addition?
The battery only comes in when there is a problem. So there's the plants are working, the diesel tank, the geothermal thing is working. If there is a break in that is when the battery kicks in to smooth things over. Yeah.
Okay.
What? It's a 10 kilowatt plant. They're not pushing 10 kilowatts. It's like 8 kilowatts.
Okay. But nothing was mentioned on the consumption or the demand, because at the end.
They publish that every month. They publish total consumption. It's roughly about 8.5, between 8 and 8.5 million kilowatt hours have been consumed.
But what I'm trying to tell you is, during the course of the day, you have fluctuation in consumption of electricity, and in the world of power, that's why batteries are becoming more and more of a thing. It's because power generated has to be consumed, and when you produce more electricity than that's being consumed, you have to have storage. So, for example, if you're consuming, 30 kilowatts and you're producing 50 kilowatts, you're going to have issues unless you don't have storage. So that's why batteries are really important. And the issue here is during the course of the day, demand is not constant. So in the early mornings, you might have peak demand probably in the early mornings when everybody's waking up, getting ready for school, doing things. And at nighttime, when everybody's at home and turning off the lights, probably 1, 2 in the morning, there's not a lot of consumption of electricity. That's when you have your base load consumption. So the power generated has to fluctuate to meet the change in demand during the daytime. So when your ACs are running, all these things are important. So it's not just a matter of tweaking an equipment to match a particular output to match a particular demand, because demand itself fluctuates over a period of time. So for example, let's say you build an international airport. The international airport is put on the national grid. That is going to increase the demand on the electricity consumption, and you have to make sure that you understand how much electricity that facility is going to consume over a period of time, and do you have enough generation capacity to meet that additional demand that's going to be added. So every time you add a new house, you put in a new AC unit, you put in different things, that changes your demand. So when I hear the guys talk about we tweaking stuff because our capacity was average, it doesn't make sense to me, because your electricity consumption or demand fluctuates as the day go by, and the power company has to be able to sense that consumption and either drop the generation capacity or increase that generation capacity to meet the change in consumption. The issue is some generators cannot cycle in very fast. So that's why I was asking the question. If you have battery storage, yes, that's going to kick in. Typically, battery storage lasts like 48 hours. Those don't last a whole long time. Yeah, well.
Good afternoon. Dr. Fontaine, I don't want to sound like I'm some big scientist, but the case of the batteries that he's talking about, it's behaving more as in a capacitive kind of a situation where if the load suddenly drops, that battery is just, you remember you said you were talking about fractions of a second? Just so that another source can kick in. This is not the kind of battery that you can run the island on. It's like a big capacitor. Because he shouldn't confuse it with a solar system. Now, a solar system for a house, a home, might have batteries that do that kind of job. Store the energy so at night you can release the energy, right? But in that situation, and also we're not talking kilocycle, we're talking mega cycle, megawatts. I think I've heard you said kilowatts. Megawatts is the right size we're talking about. Okay. Now, one other thing that I was shocked to find out last night, and I'm only going off topic because it's Wednesday, and Wednesday is usually, a day where we can choose a topic. I was shocked to find out that the cable car company got 999 years a contract. Is it a contract? A lease for 999 years.
Are you sure?
Kidding me?
Are you sure you heard that correctly? Because leases are normally 99
I heard
years.
it correctly. I heard it correctly because Judge Andre queried it. And when he queried it, Mr. Nassif clarified it. And also, when Mr. Joseph came up, he said he was surprised Judge Andre had not heard that. Because I had not heard it, and I was a bit shocked to hear.
Yeah.
Just let's say 1,000 years. A contract for 1,000 years?
No.
I've never heard that.
Me neither.
Have you heard that?
Yeah.
I've heard 100 years, but
I think
1,000?
it's 99 years. I don't know. We'll have to find out for sure. That's something that we'll certainly have to clarify. All right. So thank you. Thank you.
It blew my mind. It blew my mind anyway.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's go back to the telephones. Good afternoon to you. You're on Talk on the Block.
Good afternoon, Doctor. Yeah, good afternoon, Doc.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah, and good afternoon to everybody. Doc, I will ask convince, is this a geothermal project or geothermal? Vince say it's a geothermal, but I believe it's a geo. This is bad luck. With bad luck, this guy in Dominica.
No, but
yeah.
I mean, but to be honest though, the project as it is there, it is going through what they refer to as the commissioning phase. And if you listen very carefully to the two gentlemen, they explain very clearly that in that phase you have problems. You have those kinds of problems where they try to work out the best systems, and it also is not finished. You heard Mr. Fred John indicate that they're building the substations. That's a critical part of it. They've only put one substation online, and he says that there are thousands of connections you make into this one substation, but they're building several of them, and that will be completed, I believe he said, in November of this year. So we can expect, and they were very clear, that between now and then you can expect some of these unforeseen outages. But I think overall the trend appears to be good. The price is coming down. As we said, it was $49 per kilowatt hours 2 months ago. It's now down to 44 cents. And we got the assurance from the managing director of Domlec that as time goes on, the price will keep coming down. So there is an expectation that we will get prices, and hopefully it will get in the $20 cents range, because as I said, it was at 31 cents in January. So if you can get it to the 20, less than 20 cents range, and that would be a major benefit to the consumer. But from everything I heard, it does appear as if that is very much on the tabs. The other thing a caller asked about earlier is we talked about the use of the battery, and the use of one of the things that the managing director told Dominicans to do is to invest in surge suppressors. All right, basically indicating that this problem will continue, where when you after a power outage and the power comes back into your homes, it comes with a surge, and that is what sometimes destroys the equipment. It could fry your hard drive on your desktop. It could stop your fridge from working, your fans, and so on. And he's advising, and I think it's good advice, that individuals invest in surge protectors, where they have those devices that you can plug into before you plug into the electrical outlet. So that when the power comes back with a surge, that surge breaker breaks that surge going into your appliance, so that it protects your appliances. And it's a good thing in that era of frequent outages and so on. And you may not be home when the power goes. If you're home, some people, what they do, they unplug their fridge, unplug their different appliances, unplug the television set and so on, so that when the power comes back on, it does not impact them. But if you're not home and the power goes and it comes back on when you're not home, then you could have a problem. But if you have those surge protectors, especially in a sensitive equipment like your television sets, your fridges and so on, that would go a long way to providing some protection. So we're continuing our discussion there, and we're going to the overseas line. This is Talk on the Block. Welcome.
Yes,
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon.
That's listening to the topic, although I was having some problem in hearing you. I try I listen to you on WhatsApp, but I usually listen on TuneIn, and I couldn't hear you at all
on WhatsApp at all. All I get him is reggae music. And on tuning, I hear him very low. But it's an interesting conversation. And that is another reason why we should take better care of the environment, especially what happening at Deadwatch. Because something they could decentralize the electrical system. Instead of all this money, we have the water running free. They could put substation, a little station for the north, one for the south. Everything has got to come from one central source. You know, you could have one bill around Makusui Layu because they have a lot of water. Then you could have one on the east side where the rivers are powerful. You know, but the way Dominica is moving, it's like we are Galway. We don't know what the hell we're doing. On one side, you want to develop natural, local power system, but the main source and the advantage we have is our rivers and the trees and the mountains. You know, it's very, very important that we reserve the forest because that's a major source of power, water, and as I said, the water is life. And when you start destroying the environment, you destroy power, you destroy our life, you destroy everything. So Dominica have to find its way. Right now, Dominica don't know what the hell they're doing. They don't know what they want. They don't know where they're going. They don't know where they're from. And I hope with a new administration, we could sort this thing out because geothermal I'm not against geothermal, but what I'm saying, we can't put all our eggs in one basket as Afima always say, and I agree. You know, we have different sources. We could use water, geothermal process. You know, we don't have to put everything in one basket. But anyway, it's a good program. I'm listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Let's go back to the telephones. Good afternoon. Welcome to Talk on the Block.
Good afternoon, Dr. Fontaine, and how are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Well, very well. Well, Doc, first of all, let me just thank you for making this information that was played available to the public. I am sure that the vast majority of us who use the services that Domlec offer don't have the capacity to understand much of what was said by the two gentlemen, the recording that you played. But one thing that is clearly discernible from what was said is that these guys, if we just summarizing it, they are moving into these things not like professionals, because they just think about as they go along, they're trying to figure out and trying to learn. That should not be, because geothermal is not new to the world. It's not a new technology to the world. It is new to Dominica. And I just find that they could have done a much better job in preparing overall for the introduction of geothermal. First, the generation, the plant, the production, and the distribution. These things are not rocket science. The science to understanding all of that is already there. And so I think they could have done a much more complete job in developing and distributing the geothermal power. Because from what I heard, there are so many things that are not ready. Like you mentioned, as they mentioned, about the substations. I cannot understand why they would come and go say, hey, geothermal is here, and they're still building substations and all these sites. I believe these are things that should have been in place before they decide to turn us on to geothermal. That is my thing. My take on it is that it is a rushed job. It is not being done in a professional manner. That's my contribution. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, caller, for this. We appreciate this very much. And that's what we're going to do. Take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll continue with more of your calls and as we continue this conversation. for this afternoon.
Of lubricants, Valvoline, America's first branded motor oil. Valvoline has been formulating and improving motor oil longer than any other brand. From the world's first racing oil to the world's first synthetic blend, Valvoline has been trusted in engines around the world for over 150 years. Make the switch today. Choose Valvoline, the original motor oil. At Auto Trade, we only recommend the best in quality because at Auto Trade, it's more than a vehicle. It's a relationship. Valvoline lubricants, now distributed by Auto Trade.
Universal elegance, the place no shop for home. Universal elegance, universal elegance, universal elegance, the place no shop for vehicles. Universal elegance, universal elegance, universal elegance, the place no shop for appliances. Universal elegance, universal elegance.
All you, I just meet Goldwyn in Roseau again. Same place outside Flossies. I tried to dock in, but you had time to see me. Where? Story start again. Million, lot of my power with us, huh? Saga fella, I said the same thing you doing, shopping at Flossies, and you don't have to tell me the same thing you tell me last time because I'm busy. It's to hear him way. You reckon? About my bucket, boy. I won't tell you that I save money in food and drinks when I buy quantity. I save more. Oh, shucks, man. Well, when you're still telling me, I know already. Tu paga respect him, eh? But it can even pepper palais. I will tell all my friends from London, US and Dominica to come to Flossies. Right next to the Rosa Market. Open Sunday to Saturday. Flossies can't do it to you.
Okay, let's go back to the telephones. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon to you.
I'm listening to your program very interesting. I'm telling you, get ready for the new stuff. No constituency election. So we gave him backing up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, caller. As we continue here this afternoon, a very important discussion taking place around electricity generation. We learned a few things today, and a word that kept coming. And I agree with the previous caller that the conversation was a bit very technical conversation, but we were able to get something out of it. One of the things that I think that came out very strongly is that they were facing some severe challenges, and it's almost like they were not yet ready. In fact, one of the callers pointed that out, that they had no excuse. They were simply not prepared to launch at the time that they did, and Mr. John did accept that criticism. So let's go back to the telephones. Good afternoon.
Yes, my brother, what's up?
Doing well, and you?
Well, I'm trying to see what I can do and if I can change my life. I'm tired, but it's very hard. You know, you have to have faith, and God will take over.
That is it.
Just
Keep
like
trying.
you.
Keep trying. Keep trying.
Keep trying. No, you haven't got to keep trying. You keep doing.
That's
doing.
Correct.
Anyway, my call there now is to call on the Prime Minister to explain to us exactly what is going on with the geothermal and Mr. Vincent Desmond, where we can ask them questions about what is really going on. Because if the geothermal plan is to make our bill a little lower than how we are accustomed to pay, and you're taking light constantly, you know what I mean, how many hours or whatever, you know, I call that good shading, technically, that's what's happening now. And then when the bill comes, we are still paying $100 and something. I have 3 bulbs in a house, right here, 1 little fridge. You need to tell me, don't let me $245, you understand? Per month, $245 per month. Man, how much you charge in the business spaces? Can you tell me, what is the price of the business spaces? Because if I pay $245 per month, and my salary is $500, you understand? And I still have to pay my water. I haven't go and pay my little television, and etc. I haven't paid my dumb money. You understand? I haven't been in enough food for the children. And you're telling me that everything is reducing when you give us geothermal. What is happening to the plant in Trafalgar with all the water that used to run into Domlek? Are you still using that? Those are things that you have to come and tell people. You understand? You not say that Domlek should not be taking rights from people just like that and telling me later. But you are the man that's drawing the most money from every mistake Domlek make and every soup stick that Domlek put. And every increase, you draw in more money. Huh? When you can reduce something for us, Mr. Skerrit, sit down now, man. Sit down. Talk to Melissa. Melissa, take out all your clothes. Become women, I tell you that. Take out all your clothes, Melissa, and speak to Skerrit. Let him see you. He cannot see you totally for him to remember other people, children on the outside. One graduate student that wants in a house, they're studying, and he just give her a side job for $500 per month. Mr. Skerrit, that is peanuts. Take a page of Carlos. Mr. Skerrit, take a page of Carlos. And when you take a page of Carlos, you will know what business is about. And when you take that page of Carlos, you will know how to run the country without crooks and criminals. I say bye-bye, Mr. Skerrit. One day, Dominica will brother. Hip, hooray! My children is free to go back to their garden to eat all the fruits and all the bananas that they're supposed to get in the market. Mr. Skerrit, please, sir. Release the country. Work with us. Let us feel some things. Everybody coming out where they're coming out and just they're feeling that Dominica plenty money.
Yes, indeed. Thank you. Thank you, caller. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you for your input. Appreciate it. Let's go back to the telephones. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, brother. How you doing?
Doing well. All is good. All is good.
Yeah. Thank you, listeners. You know, it's a fact. Electricity, you know, this government, what this government does is it makes decisions on advantage. See, like the only reason why that geothermal is open this year is because of election, not because it is ready. You understand? Even airport we signed had some conversations. It was a rush process. You know, like this government doesn't do things on well. We have done the thing, we have put things in process, we've done the logical now. No, their decision, boy, rush that thing and make that thing happen. Now we have elections coming in. That's why we emerge in the geothermal problem comes to. We're thinking of organized as a civic society, but we should be filing a class action lawsuit against that company. You know what I mean? We just, in Dominica, we're not up to date on these levels, and the lawyers don't do their job in terms of public, service. But really, that's what we should be doing, because people are going to keep losing the and then it's going to. So it's the government. That's why I tell people, Dominica has enough for all of us. What we need is a good management team. Dominica does not have a good manager, no management team. That is the issue. The Domlek thing is a perfect example. And we got to have a program talking about the whole night. Because, you know what I mean? People are not supposed to be spending big money for energy in Dominica if we do things rightly, you know? It's really good joke. Anyway, brother, God bless.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. And, when you think about it and the points you made about the cost of electricity, I mean, we have the geothermal energy. And one of the things that Mr. John observed is that once the plant comes on, it is there, like once it is fully commissioned and it is running, it's like an almost endless source of power, clean energy. And the question is whether or not the cost of electricity will go down sufficiently on account of this, because 10 kilowatts. Now, interestingly enough, I think I heard the manager indicate that we lost the hydro part, which was equivalent to 8 megawatts that has been lost. So that's very, very interesting. So if, it would be good if we were able to up the hydro and the geothermal, then in that case, we would be completely free of the fossil fuels, which is what you want. You want to not have to import petrol to run your turbine, so that if there is ever a shortage or the price goes up, then it does not impact you too much. So a big question becomes whether or not we'll see any significant reduction in the price or in the cost of electricity to homes and to businesses. And that is something we just have to wait and see as time goes by. But it does appear that it is on its way down. It's, as I said, over the past 2 months, it has moved from 49 cents per kilowatt hour to just about 44 cents. So we're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back with more of your comments and suggestions as we talk about a very interesting topic that concerns all of us here in Dominica. That is generation of electricity. So let's do that. But before we do, let's take one final caller, and then we'll go back to a short break. Good afternoon, and welcome to Talk on the Block.
Good afternoon, Dr. Fountain again. Dr. Fountain, there's something that can be played a game with, and I would like to try to see if I can explain it. In the hydro, the hydro is fixed, right? But when you hear people say about, we're 10% or 20%, it's fixed, but the consumption is not. So when you use a percentage, if the consumption goes up, naturally the percentage of the geothermal contribution, that number will drop. But it's not to say that the mechanics of the hydro have dropped. It's just that the total consumption, the 100% consumption, has risen. So in proportion to the 100%, what the hydro is contributing, that number drops. So don't be fooled. I'm telling people, don't be fooled by that. It's not to say that the hydro is dropping what it's putting out. It's staying the same. But again, when you have more consumption, the percentage of the contribution is going to be smaller. Thank you.
All right, thank you, caller. And also, there's one very important distinction to make in the sense that the hydro is owned by Domlec. They're not paying for the water, if you like, but for the geothermal, it is being generated by a separate company, that is Oma Industries. They're the ones that are generating the geothermal power, and they're selling that through those distribution lines that Mr. John spoke about. They're distributing that and selling that power. And last month, it cost customers in Dominica over $390,000. And all of that was passed on to the customers of Domlec. And obviously, as more of that energy comes from the geothermal, is more money that will be paid to the geothermal company, which, by the way, has the generation. They have the lease for 25 years. They have a deal with this government that they will run this particular operation for 25 years before they turn it back over to government. So they have 25 years to make the monies that they did not spend, 25 years to make the monies that they borrowed from our commercial bank. So it's a very strange operation that we see, especially after the government of Dominica spend countless, over $100 million for the exploration of the geothermal. Something that needs to be looked at very closely, and questions obviously need to be asked about this. But we'll come back in just a little bit.
DeWitt Center is now even closer to you with the opening of DeWitt Center Express, conveniently located on Cork Street, right next to Fresh Market. Get all your home improvement essentials fast with everything from tools and paints to home decor and more. Plus, enjoy the same great service you know and trust. Now, just a quick stop in the city. Visit us today at DeWitt Center Express, your partner in home improvement, now closer than ever.
Fuel your farm with premium animal feeds at Bloombox. We're excited to announce a major expansion to our lineup. Bloombox Farm and Garden Center is now your go-to supplier for high-quality animal feeds. From poultry to livestock, we provide the specialized nutrition your animal needs to thrive. Our feed portfolio includes poultry solutions, swine care, small pet and livestock. Visit Bloombox in Roseau on the corner of Hanover Street and Drury Lane, or Bloombox Goodwill, 66 Federation Drive, Goodwill. Let's bloom together.
Why would it not come from the pocket that hurts you? A fresh market, we are
Open 7 days a week with the top of the line products. Well, stock, supermarket and pharmacy, health and beauty care, fresh produce and meats prepared daily, hot and cold kitchen, ready to go meals, sandwiches, salads, and desserts at your fingertips. Easy access, located on the bayfront, environment friendly, and our staff are approachable and ready to assist. Have you figured out who we are? You got it, Fresh Market. Your one stop. Everybody don't come and everybody don't touch you. Fresh Market, Fresh Market, everybody come right there. Yeah. Fresh Market.
Let's go back to the telephones. Good afternoon. Welcome to Talk on the Block.
Good afternoon, Thompson Song. This is Afi Martin. How are you?
Hi, Afi. I'm doing well. Hope you're doing good as well.
Well, surviving, you know. I'd like to add a couple of points to your conversation. First of all, the cost of power that you were trying to get at per kilowatt hour can only be arrived at if we know what it's actually going to cost to produce the power. Now, we have the data as to what it costs to produce power from diesel. We have the data which will tell us what it costs to produce water from hydro, because we've been running these two systems for a long time. So I have asked, what is the cost of power that is being produced? And even if you haven't run the plant fully yet, by now you have all the data points. For example, what is the cost of the management contract to OMAT? And how is that cost being spread out over a pay period of a month, for example, which is what the customer has to deal with? That data has not been made available. Now, there's a matter that also needs to be clear. OMAT is a foreign company, is an Israeli company that is on contract not to Domlek. It's on contract to the geothermal company, which is the company that is producing the power from geothermal and selling to Domlek. So it seems to me that we need to get clarification from the geothermal company of Dominica. What are the terms of that 25-year contract that has been signed with OMAT? Has OMAT invested any money in the project? I am not aware that they have. If they have, how much have they invested? And over what period of time will they recoup their investment? At what cost to the consumer? That's one factor. If we don't have that kind of information, no claim of a reduction in the cost of electricity as a result of geothermal can be made, because you don't know how much it's going to cost you to produce the power. Now, included in the cost structure has to be the cost of exploration. Who is going to bear the cost of exploration? It started way back just after 2001, 2002. Who is going to bear that cost? Is it going to be written off? I'm aware that many agencies, including the World Bank, the French government, and others, made loans to Dominica for the development and exploration things. Other agencies gave grants for the exploration things. So we need to be clear. And I know, as an economist yourself, you would need that kind of data to be able to make a judgment about what is the net benefit to the consumer. Okay, that's one. The second point I'd like to make is that there is a national policy in place to govern geothermal and renewable energy. It's called the Dominica Resilient Development Strategy, recently updated from 212 to 20. It's now 220 to 30. So we have a current development policy and plan. And the policy says this, and this is another issue that I'm sure you as a policymaker would be interested in. The policy in that development plan is do not put all our energy eggs in one basket. So we will explore for geothermal, we'll invest in solar, invest in wind, and redevelop water. For precisely the point that one of your callers made. We made the mistake of going into bananas and depending on bananas entirely. We must not make that mistake with energy. And the policy is very clear. So is it that the government approved the policy and is immediately violating its own policy to diversify the sources of energy so we don't end up being dependent on any one source of power? That's the second point. The third point is, I really believe it is crucial for us to be told again by the Geothermal Development Company about the total cycle involved in the development of geothermal. Not everybody is a scientist, so they wouldn't all understand it. But I have one question, for example. When we pull up the hot material from down in the belly of the earth, 1.5 kilometers down, when we pull it up and we use it in the plant to generate power, we have a waste material, which is what is called the slurry. There is a line from the plant which is supposed to go to what is called a re-injection well, because you cannot just dump that slurry all over the place. It will pollute the area and cause the death of plants and animals. So there is a well, another well, besides the production well where you pull the stuff up. There's a re-injection well that you put your waste back down into the earth. I have a question. Is the re-injection well working well? Is it really working? Is it absorbing and able to accommodate the material coming out of the plant thus far? I think these are not points of science. These are points of information, and let us not underestimate our population. We may think because a man cannot read and write, he cannot understand. I know you know that. It's not the case. But many people can understand it if it's explained in simple language. So I'm asking Mr. John, who I know very well, and actually he is an outstanding young technical manager. And then there's Mr. Sinak, who I don't know at all. But I do believe we have to task them with providing answers to these kinds of questions relating to cost, relating to ownership, relating to responsibility, and relating to the environmental considerations of geothermal, which require that you re-inject the material that you use into another well. So I do believe, Thompson, that wherever you have a chance to get these gentlemen back, ask them about this. And I do believe maybe we should invite them to a town hall meeting. Why not organize a town hall meeting where all persons, including the representative of the Israeli company that is managing the plant, why don't we have them come to a town hall where they are physically available to hear and see the public who are the consumers, so that we get answers right there, and then we can broadcast the town hall live to the rest of the world. So, all well and good. I do believe in renewable energy, but the final consideration is, if you heard, I believe it was Len Matthews, he called it for, there is the levelized cost of renewable energy. That data is tracked and maintained by the World Bank and other institutions. And in the four major renewable sources, which are solar, wind, hydro, and geothermal. Geothermal is the most expensive per unit levelized cost of renewable energy. which is why it is recommended that you do not depend altogether on geothermal. So let's be wise. Let's not make the mistakes in energy that we made in banana. Okay, my friend. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Afi. Thank you so much for your intervention there. We appreciate it. Let's go back to the telephones. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Dr. Fontaine.
Yes, good afternoon.
Oh boy, that lesson this afternoon there wasn't for any students, man. That lesson from the two teachers of the left, it wasn't for any students. Any student couldn't follow that lesson at all, but I tried to follow
That's
as
good.
much
That's
as
good.
I could.
Uh-huh.
So now the manager of Domlec is talking about the stage protector, but the price is $208 for one. I just checked out the price. You think everybody have $208 additional to pay for that switch protector? So budget is coming up. So I have a proposal for Mr. Skerrit, the Prime Minister, and Mr. Irving McIntyre, the Minister of Finance, allow the electrical companies to bring in the switch protectors duty-free. Remove all consumption tax, duty, custom and service tax, the whole works, so that the cost could be reduced to with the consumers, because based on what the gentleman said, they will be still having these surgeries because they testing, 1, 2, like when you're testing the mic, 1, 2, 1, 2, testing. Okay, Dr. Function?
This
So
is
I have
excellent.
this
This is
proposal.
excellent.
I have this proposal. They always listening to the talk shows. So NJIC clip out that piece and send it to Dr. Irving McIntyre and Mr. Roosevelt Kerry, because budget soon coming in. Bye-bye, Mr. Maglo.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for this. This is an excellent suggestion, by the way, because from listening to the managing director of Domlec, it is clear that those issues will continue for a while, and is encouraging every Dominican to have a surge protector or to protect their equipment at home and the appliances. And so the idea of getting some duty-free concessions on that, which would allow everyone to do that, every homeowner at a reasonable cost to be able to install that, certainly sounds like a great idea. And I hope those that are listening will in fact follow through. All right, we'll be back in a little bit. So let's take a quick break.
Sale. It's a 6-day mega sale at Raffles Foam and Upholstery Services for 6 days only from June 22nd to 27th, 2026. Enjoy amazing savings with a different deal every 2 days. Monday and Tuesday, get 50% off on foam mattresses. Wednesday and Thursday, enjoy incredible savings on upholstery fabrics and curtains. Friday and Saturday, save big on orthopedic mattresses. The savings happen at Raffles Foam and Upholstery Services, your one-stop shop for comfort, quality, and style. Visit our showroom on King George V Street, opposite Jolliet's Pharmacy and Wholesale near the Point Michelle bus stop. For more information, call 440-2424. Raffles Foam and Upholstery Services. Don't miss the sale event where every 2 days brings a new deal. Sale. 6 days of unbeatable savings.
People of the Maho constituency, calling everyone from the Maho constituency. The United Progressive Party is inviting you to a public meeting at the Maho Market on Thursday, June 25th at 7 p.m. Come here from constituency candidate Loftus Lofty Durham, a man of principle, and party leader Joshua Francis, and other speakers. Come and hear firsthand how our plans include you. United Progressive Party, together for progress.
We are open 7 days a week with the top of the line products. We're out of stock. Supermarket and pharmacy, health and beauty care, fresh produce and meat prepared daily.
family. Hot and cold kitchen, ready to go meal. Sandwiches, salads, and desserts at your fingertips. Easy access, located on the bayfront, environment friendly, and our staff are approachable and ready to assist. Have you figured out who we are? You got it. Fresh your one stop. Everybody that comes and your pocket that touch you. Fresh market, fresh market, never did I find it. Fresh market. Respect to the maximum. Guada, Dominica.
Dominica, Guadeloupe, then and now, the Oxford trade, music, culture, education, sports, tourism. Are we maximizing our relationship with the French Antilles, in particular Guadeloupe, Dominica, Guadeloupe, then and now? Creole Handmade faces up with Ezra Winston on Friday, June 26, 11 a.m. on Q95 FM. Holder of a bachelor's in broadcast journalism and master's in political science from Brooklyn College, New York City, and former marketing officer for the French Antilles and Discover Dominica Authority. Ezra Winston, are we market-led or product-driven? Ezra Winston takes a microscopic view of our relationship with our closest neighbors on Creole Handmade on Q95 FM, the big station. This Friday, May 26 from 11 a.m. Dominica, Guadeloupe, 10 and now. Pamachesa.
Et voilà. Respect to the maximum.
Good afternoon and welcome to Talk on the Block. Good afternoon. Go ahead, please. Hello. Good afternoon. Caller, go ahead, please. Good afternoon. Welcome to Talk on the Block.
Yeah, good afternoon, Dr. Fountain. How are you?
Yes, doing well. Thank you.
Okay, hi, Dr. here. Dr. Fountain, Afimati raised some very critical questions and observations in his comment, and I would like to further expand on them. When Sam Raphael was on the program, I attempted to raise some of them, but I could not stay on the line speaking to him. In addition to these very substantial issues raised by Afimati, we also need to know who are the shareholders of the Geothermal Development Company? Who owns that company? Is the government of Dominica the majority shareholder? What is the relationship between the Geothermal Development Company and the company that now operates the plant? As AFI has, did they invest in there? Who paid for the plant? Because what we have, the situation we have is that the energy that is being taken from the earth, the cost of the earth of Dominica, is crude oil. It's like the crude oil that you go to the Middle East, etc., and the government extract from there. And it is converted into energy, electricity. So we would like to know what is the formula. The formula for arriving at the cost of the energy that this company is now selling to Dominic, a government-owned company. What was factored into this price is in there. As Afi asked, and it's a very significant question, the 100 million US or more that the government of Dominica received in aid, in grants, etc., for that project, formula to arrive at the price at which this energy, electricity is being sold to Dominic. And the only way we can know that is for the government of Dominica, the Prime Minister, the Minister of Investment, the Minister of Finance, the Attorney General, is to ensure that these agreements are tabled in Parliament. They must be tabled in Parliament so that the public knows, they get the information. Because it's not rocket science that is developing there, as somebody observed. So we would like to know, when you see the formula, when you see the agreement, you can compare it to other places where you have similar arrangements. Is it fair? Who is benefiting? What is the country, the people of Dominica, apart from the fact that we have renewable energy and the cost of energy they said electricity might go down by 10 or 15%, as the case may be. But could it have been 50 and 60%? No, faster. We do not know because we do not have the information. And the only way to get the information is for the government to act responsibly. The Prime Minister, who is the Minister of Investment, I think, the Minister of Finance, and the Attorney General to table all these agreements in Parliament so that the public and the parliamentarians can inform their constituents as to the arrangement. Other than that, it is a top secret thing that's happening and people have to speculate. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for that caller. Indeed, that's a call there for some transparency in this whole operation, because we know that the government of Dominica spent tens of thousands, we are told $100 million on the exploration phase, and then quite interestingly turned over the generation to a foreign company. So what is the relationship there? Who owns shares in this company? Did they invest their own money? We know that there was a time when they were guaranteed a certain amount of money from the Commercial Bank of Dominica. What exactly is the operation there, and how should the people of Dominica view it? Also, how much of that we are going to see ultimately. And I think for most consumers in Dominica, their concern is whether or not they're going to get a reduction in those high costs of power. And of course, the obvious question is whether or not at some point we're going to see even Domlec itself absorbing some of that cost, because right now, as it is, there is a complete pass-through, total and complete pass-through of the cost. So whatever it costs whatever it costs them to the generating company, that is Omotech Technologies, that is now passed on. Last month it was $390,000 just for the month of May. It is obviously going up. We should expect it to be much higher this month of June, and all of that has been passed on to the consumer. So at some point we're going to seek some relief. So what we'll do here on Talk on the Block is to try to get at least one of these two gentlemen back on their live so that they can answer some of your calls. I believe that there are some very important calls of concern, and the suggestion by AFI as well of having some kind of a town hall meeting where people can come and express themselves and really get answers from the company, because at the end of the day, Dominicans are the ones to bear the brunt or the total cost of this thing. And there are lots of questions that people still have, and it would be good information that we learned today. There's a 10 kilowatt, the 10 megawatt plant that is being commissioned right now. We are going through what is called the commissioning process. And what this means is that this company is now generating power through this. They then send this power through distribution lines and substations down to Fonculé, and then that is added onto the electrical grid here in Dominica. Domlec purchases that power from them and then redistributes to its customers across Dominica. And we had two major outages in the past. They explained that was because they were having some issues with when there was some increases in the power and not having the correct systems in place to regulate those fluctuations. Then you had those power outages. They're now telling us that they've been able to successfully install battery power that will serve on a short-term basis to be able to regulate some of that. So when there were issues of the power coming in, those batteries will kick in and will be able to, be in a position, or this battery power will be for some time until the other systems are activated or come back online. So there is an expectation that there should be less of the power outages, but it does not mean that it is completely over. So we can expect probably from time to time to get some of what we see, but probably not to the same extent, probably not to the same severity of what we experienced last week when we had 2 complete days of shutdown. The first day night being the last time that happened, and a couple of days before that, I think it was on Tuesday, where we had a complete shutdown across the island. Now, these shutdowns that we've seen, like, or outages as they call there, is different from planned outages. And talking of which, there is a planned outage for Loda and Grand Fort that is happening tomorrow from 9 to 12. So that is a scheduled one. So your power will be out for just 3 hours from 9 o'clock until 12 o'clock. And these types of things continue. The other thing that we saw and that we learned is that the cost per kilowatt hour, in other words, the cost that matters to you, the consumer, the amount that determines the value of your bill, how high or how low your bill is, the cost per kilowatt hours, because that's what you consume on a daily basis. The average home probably consumes about 5 or 6 kilowatt hours during the day of electricity, and you're paying basically 44 cents for that for every hour that you consume. You're paying 44 cents. That is down from 49 cents, but it's above what it was in January of 2026 when it was at 31 cents. So the expectation is that with the commissioning of the geothermal plant, we will see some reduction. We'll see some reduction in the cost of electricity that will be sustained, and that will be to the benefit of all of Dominica. All right, so that's what we have for today. We thank you very much for being a part of this, and we are certainly interested in seeing that we get those answers. All right, so let's take this as we end. We have some comments coming into us there. It says the government seems to lack efficiency in consultations, and as a result doesn't seem to understand the contracts they're signing on the country's behalf. Why is that country always paying such high costs from projects that should benefit us, even before the people can enjoy the benefits of having these projects completed? These are very good questions. And of course, it says our people have the answers, but this government seems to be refusing good counsel and keep adding to debt without relief. Shouldn't the Domlec power kick in when geothermal power fail? Batteries now in the picture. Isn't that additional cost to the country? Okay, I think that is all part of the, and I think I can explain this one. That's all part of the arrangement now. As you bring in the geothermal energy, Domlec is now using basically free sources. They're using the hydro power. They're using the power generated for the use of diesel, and they are using the geothermal energy power. So they're using those free sources. They have to somehow integrate those free sources. And one of the ways that they're doing this integration is with the use of battery power, which stores some of that power when it is generated and not yet ready for use. And that those batteries can then kick in a very quick, short space of time when there are any issues with one of those power sources. All right, so that's how they integrated. That's all part of the cost. And of course, at the end of the day, the customer swallows practically all of the cost, with the exception that on a daily basis, Domlec takes up $1.40 from the cost of the petrol. So it's a cost to the consumer, but Domlec bears the $1.40 of that cost. So let me say then, good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of Talk on the Block. Looking forward to be back on your radio tomorrow, Thursday. But we'd like to encourage you to keep it locked to the big station Q95 for all of the great programming that you get only here on the big station. So until tomorrow, Dominica, take care and do well. Let me say, as we say good afternoon, just say goodbye and good afternoon as well to Mr. Claude and his wife there, Victoria. from Tarish Pete. I promised I would give you guys a shout out. I've not forgotten you. Thank you for taking me into your homes there on the weekend. And I hope that you're doing well and just listening and enjoying, of course, the big station Q95. So take care and we'll see you soon. All right, Dominica, have a great one. Bye-bye.